The crime rate is so lit, even PD might want to move here. Housing costs more than your hopes and dreams. Gas is worth its weight in gold. Oh, and don't forget the weather. The cold here will actually make hell look cozy. The highlight of your career here is the Tim Hortons Employee of the Month. I think it's time to break up with Canada. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, this is the channel where we unpack the dream of Canadian living. Hey guys, today we're going to talk about the most popular YouTube topic right now, and that's exactly why people leave Canada. I'm an immigrant myself. I've been here for a little bit over a decade. I'm not going to leave, that's for sure. But that being said, there's a lot of recent immigrants, as well as the true Canadians, the people who were born here, that are decided to leave, left already, or in a moment of actually changing things and moving to any other country in this world. So let's dive in, let's find out what the reasons are for specific move, and this is my personal opinion. This video is not intended to divert or change your plans to move to Canada or encourage you in any way to move outside of Canada or to Canada. Once again, entertainment only. This is my personal take. Take it or leave it. Did you know that average salary for a Canadian is about $4,000 to $5,000 a month, and all of that before taxes? And actually rent, if you look at Toronto or anywhere in the outskirts of Toronto, it's closer to $3,000 for 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So you can say that it's most likely you need 2 people to rent an apartment, 2 people to buy a house in the long run, but we're going to talk about it in just a second. And it's actually quite common for Canadians to spend almost 50% of their income on either mortgage or rent, which leaves you with pretty much nothing to cover the next 3 big series of expenses in your life, which is car transportation, food and groceries, and of course any other type of bills like phone bill, electricity bill, anything recurring that happens on a monthly basis, which leaves you with nothing at the end of the day and no means to travel or enjoy yourself, which makes it extremely difficult for Canadians to maintain this lifestyle. And honestly, it's not really about how much we make. It's about how weak the Canadian dollar is currently is. And I remember back in 2013 when I came to the country, the Canadian dollar was, I think, at 1.3 rate to the USD dollar. Currently it's flipped. It's closer to the 0.7, I believe. And it's at the all-time low, I believe, from almost 70s. So it's definitely not a good situation. We definitely cannot afford as much as we used to, and it makes it extremely difficult to survive. Another big topic for complaints here is definitely taxes. Income tax is one of the worst out there. Let's say if you're making $100,000 a year, after all of the taxes, you left with approximately $80,000 or so. So you really get taxed quite a bit on what you're making. That being said, it doesn't end there. When you go in, you purchase groceries, you purchase gas, you purchase anything in this life, you're paying additional GST, HST taxes, depending on where you are. And of course, it all adds up. In the last 5 years or so after pandemic hit, groceries just went wild. What used to cost us about $200 a week, now I would say the same set would cost us $300 to $400. So a lot of prices literally doubled, and it's all of the products that you consume on a daily basis, things like milk, fruit, any type of perishables. It's going out of the control, and it's definitely eating into the profits, eating into your savings. The cost of transportation is another sore topic for a lot of Canadians. I'm fortunate enough to own a car. That being said, car prices went up ever since the pandemic by almost 1.2, 1.5. So it's impossible to buy a new car. So a lot of people divert their attention towards used cars, which also went up in price. Gas been climbing up pretty much since 2013, since I got here. And cost of parking, it's something outrageous. It's a business on its own. We own several cars, and my husband parks the second car just outside of our building. The bill is about $300 a month, and that's on top of everything else that goes towards the car maintenance, insurance, gas, and everything else. People who are taking buses, TTC, public transportation, not in a better situation either. It costs about $300 to $400 just to get a pass and maintain it, and it's getting more expensive day by day. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to find out more about life in Canada. Since we touched based on the rent amounts, let's talk about real estate in general. A lot of people, when they immigrated to Canada, they were attracted to the low housing prices compared to New York or LA or any other big metropolitans there. That being said, things changed. It's impossible to own a house nowadays. Young people have to stay with parents or get parental support in order to afford to buy their first housing, whether it's an apartment or just standalone house or townhouse. But it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Going back to 2013, I remember looking at the commercials, looking at the houses, seeing that one bedroom condos were out on the market for about $200,000-$300,000. This type of pricing is gone. Ever since 2015, the pricing of the house has been climbing so high. Right now, it's out of whack completely to the rate of pay currently here in Canada. I think standalone houses in Toronto starting somewhere from $1 million and going all the way up to some insane amounts. And that's just impossible to afford. A lot of times, even two people with really, really good salaries are unable to save up for a down payment and then later on afford a mortgage. And of course, an ability to afford a house for someone who is my age, so mid-30s, who is already have a family, who is trying to build a family, who's trying to have children, it provides just this extra layer of insecurity that does not exist in any other country. And of course, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people my age or their late 20s just choose to leave Canada. One of the other topics that quite often being brought up, specifically in the professional environment, is just lack of jobs in Canada. A lot of people in their 30s and 40s who already established themselves somewhere in the other country or still trying to establish themselves here, they're just complaining about lack of good opportunities in Canada compared to, let's say, United States. So that's one of the reasons a lot of people professionally immigrate to other countries. Another reason for it is, you probably remember, during the pandemic, it was completely employees market, meaning a lot of people were job hopping, a lot of people were working remotely, and they realized, why the hell I'm going to work for a Canadian company, then I can work for a company in the USA or elsewhere in the world and get way more money, way more opportunities. Unfortunately, things changed, and they changed about, I would say, 10 months ago or so. Right now, it's completely employers' market, meaning that employers do control the rate of pay. Employers do provide constant layoffs, and that affects obviously the United States and Canada in particular. And it's really, really difficult to secure a job or maintain a job and stay in a professional environment. Another thing that employers in Canada pushing forward is lower rates of pay for remote employees. Of course, they brought everyone back into the office. I personally go to the office 5 days a week. I love it. I'm definitely not a remote employee type. That being said, anyone who is remote, they no longer want to hire within Canada. And if they do, they're trying to provide very minimum rate of pay because, once again, you might potentially hire somewhere in Asia or India or anywhere else where the rates of pay is way lower. And if you want to get hired in Canada and remain more of a remote employee, they're going to match that rate. Lack of Canadian experience is one of the top reasons that I hear, specifically from the new immigrants who struggle to find a job. A lot of times they come as professionals from different countries, bringing 10, 15, 20 years of experience, but often they're being rejected or given lower positions and lower rates of pay because they lack the Canadian experience, and it will take them another 4 or 5 years to gain that and catch up. And a lot of them cannot afford it. They bring families with them, they bring kids with them, and it's just devastating. Lack of Canadian experience is quite common for students. When you're a new graduate, you typically do not have the experience, but you're typically also in your 20s. So you are willing to accept junior positions, you're willing to invest in your career and get lower rates of pay, and you have time. Another stream of people who chooses to leave the country is more of a stream that requires professional qualifications. So think about lawyers, nurses, engineers. A lot of time, they would study law back home. They would get their professional credentials. They would get experience. They choose to move to Canada just to realize they're not going to get the same job, or it's going to take years for them to acquire the same credentials, or they're going to be offered lower rate of pay, lower jobs, junior jobs, and it becomes devastating. And a lot of people, of course, after spending a couple of years here, they choose to leave either back home or to countries that offer a lot more opportunities. One of the final reasons that I'm seeing a lot as a trend amongst very young employees, typically in their 20s, it does happen in my company as well. A lot of People just look at the United States as an opportunity for the future career and development. Better rates of pay, more opportunities, larger companies, and they just quit. They're not just working remotely like they used to during the pandemic. They literally leave the country in order to start a new life in the United States, and it's becoming very, very difficult to maintain and attract young, new talent. Immigration processing times are just another nightmare. There's no staff, there's no budget. It takes forever to process any type of documents, whether it's work permits, study permit, any type of visas. And a lot of people just stuck in this limbo. When they're waiting, they're not able to work, they're not able to leave the country, and they just don't know how to survive. And these tight requirements, tight restrictions, inability to leave the country and see your relatives definitely affects your choices, because in the past people would move to Canada, they would think about their parents and bringing them over here in order to take care of them. Right now people are not able to do that, and a lot of them choose their family and choose to go back home in order to take care of the rest of their family because they're just unable to give them better life here. Another reason that makes me think twice about my life in Canada is just insane amount of illegal substance abuse as well as the crime rates. It's been on the rise ever since the pandemic started, and it doesn't seem to go down. The homeless people are just everywhere. If you go down into downtown Toronto, you'll see those campsites just going out of the control. All of the substances are being sold on every single corner, and they're extremely available to anyone, kids. And someone who is a parent here in Canada, I'm definitely concerned about just basic availability of it. And did you know that back in 2023, over 100,000 cars has been stolen in Canada? I know personally at least 3 people who just were the victims of it. One more reason that I never thought is actually going to bother me that much is the harsh Canadian winter. As someone who grew up in Eastern Europe with the beautiful winter, lots of snow and lots of cold, I was just amazed how gray and cold and windy it is in the city of Toronto. This weather lasts about 5 months a year, and it's definitely mentally hard to sustain this type of cold and grayness and inability to get outside and just enjoy your life. A lot of times you have to invest in a vacation somewhere in the Caribbean just to get out and get a little bit of sun. And it's becoming difficult for anyone who immigrated from the warmer countries with the warmer climate. They got here in Toronto, and it's just impossible. Overall, life in Canada is not perfect, but I love the life it gives me. I appreciate the family that I have and how fortunate I am. I appreciate my financial freedom. So it's just my personal opinion. I hope you enjoyed it. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video very, very soon. Bye bye now.